Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of my brothers and sisters all across the world. Thank you guys for joining us on Africa today. I am excited to be here. I want to start by saying happy holidays to everybody out there. Happy holidays to you. I hope that this holiday season is not too chaotic for you. I hope that you're taking care of yourself during this holiday season. um, you know, so today we have two topics, two things that I really want to touch on today. I know as the holiday comes around, things get a little chaotic. People, find ways to just cope with whatever is happening in their life, and also trying to accommodate the friends and family members that come in and out of town, right? I saw this video by this young lady from Nigeria. And, I wanted to share this because I think that as we are evolving as a continent, as we begin to grow some more, I think a lot of young youths are going to start struggling with their mental health, which is something that we've been seeing a lot more people are, committing suicide in Africa. I wanted to talk about mental health today on here. And hopefully, whoever is struggling with their mental health, or whoever knows someone that's struggling with their mental health, we can start to take proactive steps towards that journey. So the first video that I want to share with you guys, it's a video of a young lady. I believe from the language they're speaking, she is in Nigeria. And we're just going to put that video up in a little bit. I think it should be coming soon.
Ẹja ló jẹ́ ó ti ń dàrú o. Ta ló rẹja fún ẹ? Ó mú lọ́fẹ̀ẹ́ níbo ló ti mẹ́ja? Ó mẹ́ni tó ní. Ẹjọ irú mọ́tò wo ló jálẹ̀? Fẹ́ńsà. Wọ́n ló ti gbé ọ́lọ́ ló jálẹ̀. Wọ́n ní fẹ́ńsà ló já sílẹ̀. Fẹ́ńsà ló já sílẹ̀ ní Ayétòrò lóṣogbo bó ṣe wà yìí. Fẹ́ńsà ló já Iléṣà ló ti ń bọ̀. Kí lorúkọ ẹ gangan lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí? Kí ló porúkọ ẹ? Kí lorúkọ dádì ẹ? Emmanuel Níléṣà. Orúkọ tiẹ̀ lórí ọ̀fẹ́. Dádì ẹ Níléṣà ní Emmanuel. Ẹ̀sà òkè ni o ti ń skul. Lẹ́fù wo ló wà lẹ́sà òkè? O ti parí HND. Ìgbà wo ló fẹ́ lọ sáf? Òní kọ́ lọ́la. Ọ̀la yàtọ̀ sí ni. Òní lọ́la. Ọ̀la rẹ ni tomorrow. Ó ń re abiyamọ gbogbo ẹni tí ó bá mọ ọmọ rí ọmọ Iléṣà ló pera ẹ̀. Ẹ̀sà òkè ló ti ń skul. Ní ọwọ́ aago 7 kọjá díẹ̀ ní a rí tí àwọn onífẹ́ǹsà kan tí wọ́n jálẹ̀ ní Ayétòrò nílùú Òṣogbo. Ẹnikẹ́ni tó bá mọ̀ ọmọ Ẹ̀sà òkè ọmọ Iléṣà àbí ọmọ Iléṣà ló pera rẹ̀. Ó ní bíṣọ̀pù ni bàbá òun àbí.
Bíṣọ̀pù kan Ahmed Adéwọ̀yí ni bàbá mi.
Ahmed Adéwọ̀yí ni bàbá ẹ tún jẹ́. Ẹ wò ó ti dàrú. Ojú ẹ̀ ní kẹ́ wò. Ẹni tó bá dà mọ̀ ojú ẹ̀ rèé. Ojú ẹ̀ rí. Ayé ló ń gbé lérí. Ojú ẹ̀ rèé. Ẹni tó bá dà mọ̀. Another lady died in Òṣogbo. Ẹni tó bá dà mọ̀ wọ́n tún ti já wọn sílẹ̀ bó ṣe máa ń já wọn sílẹ̀. Ó ń rèé Òṣogbo. Ayétòrò ló wà báyìí. Ayétòrò ló wà báyìí. Ayétòrò ló wà báyìí. Ẹnikẹ́ni tó bá mọ̀ ẹni tó bá mọ̀ ẹni tó bá mọ̀.
Okay. I have there's a lot to unpack here from this lady. But this is a young lady in I believe Nigeria based on the language. She is struggling with her mental health. It's very apparent that she's struggling with her mental health. Her language, the speech pattern is a bit disorganized. The way she's dressed is a bit disorganized, right? She's in the middle of the street, have a shoe in her hand, talking to the shoes as if it's a microphone. From what it appears to look like, the bottom of her pants or her skirt is not there. So it's pretty obvious that this young lady is struggling with some form of her mental health. And I do think that this is a big crisis that is, either going to happen through Africa in the next years to come, because Africa is also receiving a lot of changes right now. What Ghana was one of the most tourist places in the world this year. So, as we continue to evolve, the youth of Africa are also going to, begin to evolve, and mental health might become a big problem in Africa. And I'm going to get more into that later on into the show. But as we move on, I also wanted to share this video from our own brother, Francis Ngannou from Cameroon. This Francis was having an interview with, I believe, Shark, one of Americans' pro football player. Well, he no longer plays anymore, but he has a show. And, Francis went on there and was having an interview with him. And I believe the question was, Francis was asked about his parents getting divorced. And this was his response to that question. And I'm also going to tie that to how it relates
Did
to
your
our
parents sit you down and said,
No. They don't do that. We don't have that aspect in Africa. They don't have that emotion aspect in Africa. You have to understand, like growing up, for example, as a kid, maybe never get hugged. Even when you're home with your dad, you never get hugged with your dad. So this the level of emotion.
The emotional attachment is not.
The emotional attachment is not that. We don't take that emotional component. Like after 1 year with my parents being divorced, I was with my aunt, and one day I asked my aunt why my dad and my mom couldn't live like your husband and you. That wasn't a good question to ask because she didn't understand how a 7-year-old kid can understand something like that, can think like that. So for them, I was just a spirit living in the kid body. She didn't understand that I was just missing my family so much that I was able to notice stuff like that, because all the time I'm looking at this, I'm like, where's my own parent? I'm seeing them with their kid, I'm like, where's my own parent? Why my own parent?
You wanted what they had.
I wanted what they had. So from the moment that I'm missing those stuff, I notice it.
Thank you. I shared that video because it correlates with what the first video was also talking about, or what the first video was about. Because in Africa, this is something that I grew up in as well. In Africa, our parents don't really recognize the importance, or I don't know if they recognize it or not. However, like Francis Ngannou said, like we don't grow up with our parents or our families like showing emotions, right? And there's several reasons why Africans grow up that way. First of all, when we bring it back to history, with slavery and all the mass incarceration that happened in Africa, all the people that were dehumanized, right? We were shown to not like love who we are in Africa. We were stripped away from our human rights, right? We were also, enslaved and abused in so many different ways that it probably block our emotions, right? So when we look at it from that perspective, we see that a lot of trauma has happened to Africans, right? A lot of trauma has taken place where I remember as a little girl, when people were talking, adults were talking, right? I was like told, oh, you don't talk when adults speak, or you don't do this when this is happening, right? Which is understandable from a certain perspective, from a respect perspective, it is understandable. However, in Africa, we do deny our young children and even the adults, right? We do deny us that ability to feel connected emotionally, which that is also a big problem or a big case, because from the young lady to Francis, right? You can tell that Francis just wanted that attachment. He wanted that connection with his parents. He wanted that love, because it is absolutely important for us to feel that type of emotional connection, right? So he wanted that, but he couldn't get it. So from that, he was also curious. And as a kid, right, he's missing his parents. Why? Because emotionally we're not there for each other, right? And for the young lady in the first video, you can tell that there's something going on with her. I'm not sure exactly what type of mental health struggle she's struggling with. However, when we do look at it from that perspective, and we look at it from a perspective of knowing what mental health looks like, she's definitely struggling with some form of mental health. So I talked about the historical part where why Africans are detached from their emotions, right? Because part of it was history. Our history took us away from our emotions, right? Now we don't feel that type of emotion towards each other because we don't feel that for ourselves. Also, there was a lot of self-hate projected onto Africans, right? We were told that being Black or being an African isn't, beautiful, right? The beauty standard of this world has never truly been of a Black woman or a Black man, right? It has always been of a Caucasian figure. So for that reason, there was a lot of internal self-hate for self as a whole, right? I'm speaking generally as a whole in Africa. So due to that aspect of us not loving ourselves, it is hard for us to project that onto our children, onto our family members, right? And for that reason, we struggle with our mental health a lot. You know, I also think like because of that, and because there's so much historical trauma that has happened in Africa, as we continue to develop Africa, more youths like this young lady are going to struggle with their mental health, right? Because what is going to happen is our young youths right now are getting exposed to so much that is happening in the world, right? And because everything is coming so fast at them, they're not going to be able to handle exactly what's happening in the world, or they're going to be seeing all these things that are happening somewhere else and expecting that it should be happening with them, right? It should be happening for them. And that is going to take a toll on the many young Africans' mental health. um, I remember I was talking to a young man from Ghana, and he was telling me how so many people are actually committing suicide, in Ghana. So I think this is a big crisis. To bring it where we're going, the leaders of Africa have to get in front of this crisis, because there is not really a support system for people that are struggling with their mental health in Africa. Because usually when someone is struggling with their mental health in Africa, like that young lady, what people do is they surround themselves around this person, and they make it look like this person is going insane, right? As if this person is just crazy, why this person is literally just struggling with their mental health, like that young lady in that video. She's not going crazy. She's not losing her mind in a certain aspect. She's probably struggling with her mental health, and in Africa, there's not that many systems that are set up right now as we speak. There are not that many systems that are set up, or hospitals to care for people that are struggling with some form of mental illness. And I believe that this is a crisis where the leaders of Africa have to get in front of it. This is a crisis that if we don't, take responsibility for it now, we're going to suffer in the future. Our youths are going to suffer in the future because we're not going to take responsibility, because we're not taking responsibility right now and trying to get ahead of the problem. You know, our kids are getting exposed to a lot of things on social media. Social media, every little, even in the village, right? You go in the village, every child, like most people have a cell phone. Even if they don't have electricity, most people have some type of form of getting onto the internet on their cell phone, right? So if so my case is social media is going to continue to pour whatever toxic chemicals or toxicity onto our children. It's up to us to recognize this challenge that's coming in front of us to get ahead of it as a country. So, how do we know when someone is struggling with their mental health, right? Because mental health varies from person to person, right? What something that can make me go like cause me depression might not cause you depression, right? Something that might cause you anxiety might not cause me anxiety, right? So, but there's general like symptoms or signs of which when someone is struggling with their mental health, right? Uh, they show those signs and they show those symptoms. One of those symptoms that someone could be struggling with their mental health is that, for example, like the lady, they don't dress appropriate, right? One shoes or one clothes is going the other way and then the other one is going the other way. Their hair is messed up, or like they're disorganized. Let me just use that word. They're disorganized all over when they dress, right? Their dressing doesn't correlate. So you can tell that a person is struggling with some form of mental health. And not everybody that has a disorganized or they're not formed dressed well is struggling with their mental health. And that's not what I'm saying. However, if you notice a pattern on someone that you think that they're struggling with their mental health, then they just might be struggling with their mental health. Also, sometimes when you're struggling with your mental health, you can um, hallucinate, right? You can think that things are not real. Even though like people could tell you something, you still don't believe it because you're thinking your mind has gone somewhere else, right? Your mind isn't quote unquote normal, right? Your mind is hallucinating into a whole different world. Like, you get lost into this la la land and you cannot come down from it, right? That's how you can also tell that someone or you're struggling with your mental health. And then another way is your speech is disorganized, right? When you're speaking, are you able to say or complete a full sentence or paragraphs without like, how can I say this? Without saying, let's say you're talking about apples, right? Are you able to make a whole paragraph about apples without thinking about, bananas and pears and X, Y, and Z, right? And it's normal to think about other things while you're having a conversation. However, are you able to stay on topic, right? Can you hold conversations with people? Or do you see as someone in your family not able to hold conversations, right? Are they struggling to find the words to say, or is their speech disorganized? That's how you can also tell that's you or someone else is struggling with their mental health. Another way is social withdrawal, right? When someone that used to party a lot, not party a lot, but someone that is outgoing, open, make friends, talk to people, and you start to notice that they're withdrawing from doing social activities, even the things that they love to do, right? They just might be struggling from some form of mental health. And then sometimes we can have delusions, right, where we think something is existing, but there's really nothing there, right? Hallucination and delusion kind of goes hand in hand. You're thinking that there's something there, but no, there's nothing there. There's you just hallucinating and creating all the scenarios in your head, making them think that they're real. And that takes a toll on your emotional health, that takes a toll on your physical health, it takes a toll on your psychological health, right? And also when if you are struggling with some form of anxiety, right? You're in fear all the time. You're afraid of someone coming at you or something happening to you or something happening to your friend or family member, right? You're living in this state of anxiety all the time. You just might also be struggling with your mental health. It is normal to have anxiety, but it is abnormal to live in anxiety. Those are two different things, right? So what are some causes, right? It varies. Not, mental health is tricky because um, there's so many different factors that can cause a person to struggle with their mental health, right? Like some people may struggle with their mental health due to lack of emotional connection from their caregivers or their family members or friends. Some people might struggle with their mental health due to past trauma. trauma that trauma is very broad as well, right? Trauma can happen from them seeing a car accident happen, or something actually happening to them, as a young child, which is where most of our trauma happens, right? From early on. I remember when I was in Cameroon, a long time ago, when I was still back in Cameroon. I remember my mom had a store in Rendezvous, and I would go there, every now and then. But I remember clearly one day, I think we were going back home. I'm not sure exactly what time of the day, but it was towards the evening. And I don't really remember exactly like what the environment or the surrounding was, but I do remember, seeing somebody, dead body, right, in a tire, and it was being burned. That image has stayed with me for a long time, and those are the things that cause people to struggle with their mental health, right? For a young child to be able to see something so horrendous, it can last with you for a long time, and I have done a lot of self work, self healing work to process that emotion. But if you're in Africa, right, and talking about your emotions is not something that is normal, then you are allowed alone to deal with that type of memory, or that type of emotions, right? Because you don't really express that emotions. If I didn't have the right tools, I didn't have the right support to deal with that, maybe that was something that would have cost me future trauma, right? Future, mental health like challenges. Maybe that's something that could have hindered me to move past, certain part of my life, right? However, for a person that is in Cameroon, and they, this is something that happens, right? We see people get burned on the side of the street. Well, I believe we used to. I'm not sure if we still do as much as, it used to happen, but we would see things like, that will cause us trauma. A person can just be walking down the street and see someone get hit by a car. That alone is a traumatic event that has happened, right? And in our country right now, in Cameroon, there's there's been this civil war that's been going on, and so many of the young girls are getting abused. Some of the young girls are getting raped. There's so many people getting their homes taken away from them, right? So many people have been forced to flee away from Cameroon, right? So many people have been forced to move out of their homes in Cameroon. All of those things accumulate and cause people to struggle with their mental health, right? When there's a war, there's no peace in that zone. So people are living in anxiety, people are living in fear. When there's a war zone, it's a matter of life and death, right? So people are naturally going to be living in anxiety. So my point is, if you are struggling with your mental health, or if you know someone that is struggling with their mental health, please go and seek for help, talk to someone, what I'm saying, ask for help. And for our African leaders, I truly believe that this is a crisis that the African leaders need to get ahead of. It is, because more and more people, as we continue to evolve, as the African continent continue to grow, there's going to be more and more youths coming out with some form of mental health disorganized, some type of mental health challenge, because these youths we have been suppressed for so long. The African youths have been suppressed for so long, or Africans in general have been suppressed for so long, that now that we are able to express ourselves a little bit, the emotions might be overpowering at times. So my call to all the African leaders, my call to every single African out there is, please take care of your mental health. And also, African leaders, please, let's start to find systems that would support our young African youths. that we are hoping and praying that they're going to allow Africa to grow, because this generation is the generation to bring change in Africa. And we want to bring change on every single level, right? We don't only want to improve the financial part of Africa. That is only part of it, right? Having healthy people to do that is also important, and part of that health comes from our mental health. We have to take care of our mental health. You know, in Africa, we have to learn to support people when they're struggling with their mental health instead of, shaming them or thinking that they're crazy. You know, every single one of us are struggling in some aspect. However, there are those cases where you can tell that this person needs a little bit more support, like the young lady in that video, right? I just wanted to talk about mental health on here because I think, it is super important for our young youths to start to understand that taking care of yourself is, your mental health is part of the process, because you want to be stable up here just as much as you want to be financially stable. Now I'm saying you want to be respected in the world. Also, you have to learn to respect yourself, and you have to take care of yourself, right? You have to take care of your emotional needs. You have to take care of your spiritual needs. You have to take care of your entire body. you know I want us to continue to strive to be the best version of ourselves, when it comes to like finance, when it comes to developing the continent, right? That's something that I'm really passionate about. I want us to do that. However, I'm also passionate about us as individuals healing, taking time to support ourselves, right? So if you're struggling with your mental health, go ahead and ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. And part of the conversation that we also need to start having in our small communities, in our homes in Africa, is normalizing the fact that people are struggling with their mental health, and it's okay for them to open up about it. Because I also believe that part of the reason why many of these young youths are committing suicide or they are struggling with their mental health in silence is because of the shame that is around mental health conversations in Africa. There's a big shame about that, and it doesn't have to be that way. It is totally normal for someone to struggle with their mental health at times. That is totally normal. But what matters is, are you going to get help after you struggle with your mental health? Right? Are you going to get help? And I just want to end this whole conversation with talking about emotionally intelligence, right? Emotional intelligence is you being able to, describe your emotions. You being able to say, if someone asks you, how are you feeling today? Right? You're able to give them a dense description of how your emotions are, right? In therapy, they usually have like colors, right? There's green, red, and yellow, or yellow. And green is you get to describe your emotion. For example, if you are feeling angry, right? And, you know, you're not going to pick green, right? Green is a calm state, right? You're level up, nothing is really happening. You're, in a so called quote unquote normal, right? That's what green is. And then yellow is, okay, I'm starting to get angry. I'm starting to get aggressive. I'm starting to, really struggle with my mental health, right? That's what yellow is. And then red is when there's no turning back, right? You're already in the state of anxiousness. You're already in that aggressive state, right? So being able to describe your emotions in that way is part of you being emotionally intelligent, right? And also being able to recognize other people's emotions. I know this is a conversation that isn't a typical everyday African conversation that we would have in our homes, but I truly believe that talking about our emotions and talking about our mental health is super crucial in Africa right now, because we want to be able to develop every aspect of ourselves, right? So having emotional intelligence is you also being able to recognize when you need that support, right? When you need that support. So for anyone that is struggling with their mental health today, for anyone out there that is struggling to open up about their mental health, I want to encourage you to please go and get that support that you need. Go get the help. Go get the help. Don't be afraid that people are going to shame you or say you're crazy or whatever else we claim that people are doing, right? If someone is struggling with their mental health, get the support. And again, to all the African leaders all across the world, this is a part that we need to start developing as well in Africa as we look to develop the economy in Africa, because we want healthy youth in Africa. And part of our health is our mental health. Our mental health plays a big aspect of how well we develop our continent. you know Thank you guys again for joining me on Africa Today. I am, grateful to be here. Happy holiday season. Happy holidays to who in the holiday season. Happy holidays to every single one of you out there. I pray that you have the best holiday this year. And I also pray that you continue to find time to care for yourself. Prioritize your needs, and also, just love the people that are around you, right? This is holiday season. Christmas time is a time of joy. It's a time of celebration. So love the companies that you have around you. If you want to listen to more of my work, you can find me on my social media. You can connect with me at Lira, Lira _Ndifon. Again, my social media is Lira, Lira _Ndifon. Also, you can find Self-Reflection Podcast on any platform you get your podcast from. I believe I am on all the platforms that you can find a podcast on. So I want to thank you guys again for, coming here and watching Africa Today. Let's continue to grow, right? Let's continue to grow on every aspect, on every part of our life, whether it's the emotional part, the physical part, the financial part. Let's continue to grow our continent, right? And for all the youths out there, continue to believe in yourself, continue to trust yourself, and trust the process. I hope you guys have a blessed day. Take care of yourself, love yourself, be kind, and be gentle with yourself. Until next time, bye for now.